Hey, I think I know somebody that subscribes to you. Might have a little bit of answer to this about the find they had found it and had to do with the Maui fires. But I'll let you listen to it.
Hey, aloha guys, Eric West here, HawaiiRealEstate.org, coming to you live from Lahina neighborhood, Maui, Hawaii. Citizens impromptu reporter. Wasn't planning on doing this, but this is what we're doing. I'm thankful to have a Starlink from David Crawford, and we're here reporting on what I believe is potentially a smoking gun of sorts. We just don't know what it is, but I'm going to show you the scenario of this car and what's surrounding it and how temperatures could reach this level, creating this amount of melting of aluminum. I'm here with Donovan. He is, I believe, a hero of sorts. Aloha, Donovan. He's the one that brought it to my attention that we have these very strange occurrences. We just shot down on the highway. I don't know if it was actually live, but we have it all recorded, so we're going to post it. We're at another one of these locations. So this is well above the burn zone, essentially, in a neighborhood known as Lahina. I'm going to show you around real quick so you can see the scenario and judge for yourself. And again, if you enjoy content like this, I encourage you to please like the channel, subscribe, and share the video so you can get the truth of what's going on here now. So where I'm at right now, just to orientate you, you can see the lights for the football stadium right there at Lahina. So we're right below Lahina High School in the neighborhood that did not, I repeat, did not burn. You can see all the houses are standing around here, unburned. There's no burn here, okay? So to me, this is like something out of a space movie, because you have this small field with some grass that burned, right? You can see where the grass burned. But then you have these two vehicles sitting here that have melted aluminum. Don, if you want to just take us through this car real quick and show us, I know you know a few things about cars, you can point out some things that require a very high temperature. By the way, we just talked to the neighbor who was talking to an investigator in Lahina Town yesterday, and he said the investigator told him the temperatures reached in excess of 3,000 degrees. So tell us what you got, Don.
Well, we have about 300 degrees for aluminum, and this is
1,300?
1,300.
1,300, okay.
1300, well, 1220, but if you round it up, because it was not only melted, it was liquefied to the point where it became a river of aluminum going down the dirt hill.
So this is the aluminum rim, obviously. There's the tire, what's left of it, the steel threads or steel belts.
And maybe a combination gas tank, if the gas tank's aluminum.
Okay. So you have liquefied aluminum running down the side of a grass fire.
The caliper melted, unless they stole it, but it looks like the bolts are still there. So that, and then you get the steel belt of the tire, which is just a bunch of wire mesh laying there. And you have the windows that were melted, the back window. If you look at the big old, almost like
the glass is just melted.
Yeah, it was dripping. This is almost what you would see if you put a car in an incinerator.
But this is not surrounded by a bunch of structure fires or anything.
Yeah, there's no fuel.
So besides the gas that was in the tank, what's your theory on what could create temperatures of this level in the middle of a field?
Anomaly, I think is the word.
So this is the second anomaly.
Yeah, it's just that's why I stopped. I looked at it, I'm like, okay, house. Nothing's burned, and then you have melted steel and glass, and then the only thing that is left is the thick steel frame, and then the steel sheet metal.
So I don't know if you guys have figured this out yet, but the media has not been given access to Lahina Town. Everything is locked up. Matter of fact, this gentleman next door, he was on Front Street yesterday, and he was supposed to get access, and then the mayor shut it down because people were taking pictures. So they don't want pictures taken of anything in Lahina Town, because they don't want you to see this, would be my guess. Because the more that you take a look at this, and especially in this scenario, if there was a car like this in the middle of Lahina, you might think to yourself, well, okay, it was in the middle of this major burn. And there's an animal that died here or something. I'm smelling that
Must be a cat that was under there.
that smells like a dead something.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so
Maybe.
sad. That is so sad. That's someone's dog. Oh. So now we have another vehicle right next to it. Talk to me about this one, Don.
Yeah,
What are you seeing?
It's symmetrical with the other one.
Yeah.
They're pretty much identical. I mean, the heat is just tremendous heat. Melting glass, melting metal, incinerating the tires to the point of, the only thing you see is the steel belts, which actually fall apart like spaghetti noodles when you touch it.
So the media is not allowed in here. No one's allowed in Lahina town. So the only way this message is going to get out right now is if you, until your fingers bleed for America, start sharing this video.
Look what it did to the steering wheel. I mean, all it is the steering column.
We the people is all we got left here. And the more we get the word out and the more people start seeing this crazy anomaly, and we're seeing it in a lot of different places. Donovan here has been on a scooter. He was at the scene of the crime the day of the fire. He was helping people, rerouting them away from Lahina as the cops had not blocked the southbound traffic until you got almost to Front Street.
Grass.
And notice the green grass here. Now, it's only been 2 weeks. I don't know if that's 2 weeks.
2 weeks of growth.
Is that 2 weeks of growth? We have green grass. You think is that 2 weeks of growth? Okay, maybe it is. But there's a lot of green grass here. I don't know. Someone tell me how fast does the grass grow? Is that 2 weeks of growth? Someone dumped some trash in there, right? I wonder who did that. Kind of weird.
Some nice people.
Some nice people.
Yeah.
But if you don't share the story, I don't know who will, man. Someone's got to start putting this out to the people that can help. I've had people tell me, hey, you guys got to go do something. Really? We just got like a little 5G back and it doesn't even work. Every phone call we make drops. Right? Do you hear what's going on here? Are you hearing me loud and clear? They are creating a situation where it's impossible for us to communicate. Right now, I'm on a Starlink that's in the back of my truck over there. Thank you, David Crawford. So that's the reason I'm able to transmit this message, assuming you're getting it. If you're not, I have it recorded and I will post it after we go live.
See if you can get down. Let's see inside the motor.
Does this hood come up?
Oh, the motor's melted.
The motor's gone.
It looks like the block is melted.
And what's the block made out
of? Probably aluminum.
Probably aluminum.
If it melted, yeah. An iron block usually would hold out a little bit longer.
I mean, is it possible that they're making these cars with different types of materials that just have a lower melting point? But even if they did,
it
wouldn't make any sense because we're in a field that has a little bit of grass.
The block is still there. It's turned sideways.
The block is still there?
But the aluminum valve cover is still melted to death.
So can a grass fire...
But how's it burn underneath the hood? That's the thing.
Underneath the hood is protecting it from heat, right?
Or oxygen.
Oxygen there, right. So you have no combustion. And again, if you're just tuning into this live, the edge of the fire went to that little grass. This was all just grass, no trees. You can see a couple trees right there. It just went to the edge of the sidewalk. I mean, not even to the sidewalk. It just went inside of this fence. And then it stopped right before it got to this guy's thing. This guy's house. And just to orientate you here, you can see the roadblock of the National Guard right there. That is where the fire burn area starts at the top. Not at the top, but of Lahina. Sorry guys, I'm all over the map here. That, if you can see that blockade, that's actually where the burn zone is. So the fire was down there, okay? The fire was down there. This is above the bypass. We're above the bypass. The fire was below the bypass. There was no fire here, except for this little tiny field.
Supposedly it only started a quarter mile away.
So we're going to go there next?
We can and go take a look.
Next we're going to go to where we think the fire may have started. This is interesting too. Is this 2 weeks where the grass growth? Maybe it is.
No. It looks like the fire missed.
Interesting.
But you notice that house is untouched there.
Now let's just scan the houses next door so you can see for yourself. that all these homes are perfectly fine. So there's no fuel to create the fire that's powerful enough. It's like if you burned your campfire next to your car, and then this happened to your car next.
Well, everybody's thrown beer bottles or bottles in their fire, in their campfire.
Right?
And I mean, look at the windshield. It's almost gone. And the back windows.
So does everyone just need to go take a little Wikipedia tour on the melting points of things and just do some research?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Is that a good idea? So, because I didn't know much about melting points before all this started, and I'm a skeptic when it comes to all things outlandish. But to me, this is what now seems outlandish to me. Again, if you're just joining right now, please share the video because we're trying to get the word out. What's going on in Maui? Give to the Lahina Fire Fund if you can. We've raised over $500,000. Every penny will go back into the hands of survivors. We're going to document it all. Don't worry. And if you want to give directly to survivors, I'm going to try to get Donovan here to give me his Venmo if he wants to, so that he can go give the money you give to him to the people that he knows that were affected. He doesn't need any money. I don't need any money. But we are trying to raise money. And the idea that I came up with, tell me what you guys think. Again, this is sort of like a public forum, if you will, for ideas. What if we create a fund called Buy Back Lahina, and we make t-shirts, beautiful t-shirts. I've already contacted one of my favorite artists. Everything Burned, all of his originals.
That's what I do.
He has 2 galleries on Front Street, all of his original work. 20 years worth of sketchbooks gone. He can't even come on camera. He's so destroyed. But I'm trying to.
Buy 4 tires and get $250 in savings after rebate during our big Labor Day sale, August 20th.
Okay, that guy is the Hawaii real estate. Anybody have any answers to those cars? And that's not the only ones that they found. And it's kind of strange how they're all by themselves and like that. I mean, nobody could be driving those cars if they were that hot. Especially that far. So that's just a question that somebody I know, might be able to figure it out if he sees it. Okay, now we'll get back. Okay. Here's what happened to me. I just that praise God that I'm still sitting here. But this is a very odd anomaly right here. 7 tornadoes touched down in Michigan. Here's where and when. 5 people killed during severe storms. Confirmed tornadoes. Thursday evening, August 24th, 2023. 90-mile-per-hour wind. That's even more than the... These are more than what the Lahina winds were. 90-mile-per-hour wind, EF1, and EFO, 80-mile-per-hour wind. EF1, 105 miles per hour. EF1, 100 miles per hour. EF1, there's also an EF2 somewhere that hit a couple small towns. Okay, the National Weather Service has confirmed that 7 tornadoes touched down in Michigan during Thursday night severe storms. According to the Associated Press, the storms killed 5 people, trees were downed, roofs were torn off, buildings and thousands were left without power, including me, and it took them 3.5 days to do it. Yet there's no trees or nothing that were really damaged in my area that I saw. Yet it took them that long. It makes me kind of wonder. This here is one of the buildings. I have never seen this, and this is unusual. I mean, I've seen tornadoes in Michigan, but but we lived in an old schoolhouse that stood up, and they were saying that because of those fires, those buildings were old, that's why they burned. But we've had power lines into our willow tree before sparking, and all that stuff, and that old schoolhouse still sits there. EF1 rating, EF1 estimated peak winds 110-mile-an-hour, path length 8.7 miles, maximum width 100 yards, injury zero. An EF1 tornado began east of Peach Ridge Avenue and north of 6 Mile Road. This must be in Detroit. Moved east-northeast for almost 9 miles, ended just west of Rockford High School. Hundreds of trees were snapped or uprooted. Buildings were damaged in the 5600 block of Alpine Avenue, and 2 homes in the subdivisions just north of intersection of 7 Mile Road and Pine Island Drive. EF2 tornado, here's the one. EF2 tornado, Ingham County. EF1 tornado, Livingston County. EF rating, EF2, EF1, time 9 p.m., 9:42 p.m. Estimated peak wind 125 miles an hour. Path length 10.7 miles in Ingham County and 1.3 miles in Livingston County. Maximum width 500 yards. That's pretty good. Well, it's not good, but it's pretty big. Injuries 3, deaths 1. 3 people were injured and 1 person was killed when a tornado touched down in Ingham County and moved into Livingston County. The tornado started in Williamston and moved to Weberville. It moved northeast from its starting point and onto I-96, where it remained 1.5 miles before turning northeast. I didn't mean to laugh, but Slink was driving on the road. The EF2 damage occurred near and along I-96, with hundreds of trees snapped, several outbuildings damaged, and a few homes having roof, siding, and window damage. The tornado crossed M52 south of I-96. It stayed just south of I-96 until it crossed into Livingston County after Wallace Road north of Van Orden Road. The tornado briefly continued in Livingston County as an EF1 tornado before lifting near Van Buren Road, west of Nicholson Road. My heart is racing. 1 killed, others hurt after tornado hits I-96 in Ingham County. Also, they didn't tell you that there was several semis that had flipped over. There was cars that were flipped over. People are crazy, I'm telling you. EF rating, F0, which is still bad, but time 10:19 p.m., 10:21 p.m. Estimated peak winds 80 mile an hour. Path length 1.7 miles. Maximum width 200 yard. That's like a rope tornado is what we used to call them. An EF0 tornado touched down just northwest of Pheasant Run Golf Course in Canton Township and tracked southeast. Dozens of trees were downed and uprooted. The tornado continued southeast, tracking across Summit Parkway and Canton Circle Road. It brought down large limbs. As the tornado reached Sheldon Road, trees were sheared, and a hardwood tree fell onto a house. The tornado dissipated just north of the lower River Road. Down in Florida, they were talking about 300 and some thousand were without power for the whole state. Just in mid-Michigan, all those counties, well, just see, Detroit has DTE, right? That's their electric company. Lansing has Board of Water and Light. That's their electric company. Then in between the smaller towns is Consumers Energy, and Consumers Energy alone had 500,000 without power. An EF1 tornado touched near or just south of Wagner Homestead Farm in Belleville. The tornado tracked southeast and crossed Elwell Road near Belmont Drive. Trees were downed and uprooted. The tornado hit the Mobile Manor Trailer Park. A tree was broken in half and uprooted. Softwoods also found. More significant tree damage caused as the tornado approached Martinville Road, tracking close to the Hubbard Drain. Trees were downed and siding was peeled off some homes. A large limb came down on a home. The tornado appeared to have dissipated in between Pebblebrook Drive and First Road. You know that thing about the Lahina fires? They're talking that was a down line, but these right here, this damage comes straight from the tornado coming through with the winds and stuff. And that hurricane was way offshore, and it was still blowing like that, but it was not as bad as what these were. A weak tornado touched down in a farm field in Ash Township north of Newport Road and half a mile west of North Telegraph Road. That's not Detroit somewhere. The tornado tracked southeast and hit Frenchtown Villa Mobile Home Park in Newport, where most of the damage occurred on the north side of the park. Roofs were torn off, and a manufactured home was flipped over. That's how dangerous they are. Other damage included shingle and roof damage on the southeast side of the park. The tornado continued to track southeast and crossed over I-75 by the Meyer distribution center where large tree limbs were downed to the east of the center. As the tornado continued southeast, several large tree limbs were down with leaning power poles. Noted. The tornado dissipated in a farm field about half a mile east of North Drive Highway and south of Post Road in Frenchtown Township in Monroe County. Yeah, these are pretty nasty storms here. But I lived in Kansas when I was a young kid, and this thing with the fire and everything has got me thinking because that most places were like generational homes and stuff like that, and that had to have been like an inferno. And all of a sudden, it got that as bad as that to burn those houses that's dead in that community. That just got me baffled. Okay, here's part one. This is Michigan storm chases. This is what I was watching when it was unfolding.
Seven tornadoes, 100 reports of damaging wind gusts, a few reports of large hail, and one night that will not be forgotten by many. Welcome to our recap video for August 24th, 2023. In this video, you'll find a breakdown of how the ingredients came together to produce this severe event, tornado damage, analysis of radar, and other key points that happened throughout the night. This is part one of two. We're going to break down the radar and also the ingredients that came together first off, and then part two will focus on the tornado and also the damage that occurred throughout the evening across the entire state of Michigan. So grab some popcorn, your favorite drink, grab a seat, and we welcome you to the recap video of August 24th, 2023 from our perspective. And that's what's going to give us our heat for tomorrow, but also our storm chances. Now, tomorrow, I will say, does look a little less capped than today, so storms will probably be surface based tomorrow. Overall, I've told our team here that I'm more intrigued right now with how Thursday looks for an overall severe threat versus tonight. So we'll see what the SST does with this. If we talk about Thursday's evolution of thunderstorms, we have to go first back to Wednesday. On Wednesday, we actually did have a decent severe threat, including tornadoes and wind. However, the atmospheric cap was in place and it held the storms down and forced them to the east, and they only affected portions of southeast Michigan. So looking on radar on Wednesday evening, we had these storms that were firing in southeast Michigan. Had that been a more widespread threat from say Grand Rapids up to Saginaw, a big old line that came through and developed south, that may have pushed Thursday's severe threat south, because those storms that would fire on Wednesday will produce outflow winds, which would push and stall any warm front from advancing north, which is what happened on Thursday. That was the biggest concern with Thursday's potential, because it's kind of like a domino effect where each day affected the next day. We here at MSC didn't really want to talk about Thursday because our confidence was so low, and also with the SPC only highlighting Michigan in a low-end marginal risk, which is level 1 of 5. We didn't want to get too excited for it, but looking at that day from afar, it was indicative that this was going to be a very serious day. What you see on your screen here is total rainfall. I want to cover this in a brief little segment here because it was significant. So portions of southeast Michigan were affected very heavily by Wednesday evening's rain. What happened, if you go back on the radar I just showed you, you can see the thunderstorms and the rain just continue to train over the exact same areas, causing some areas across Washtenaw, Wayne, and Monroe counties to receive 5, even 7 inches of rain in less than only 5 to 6 hours. This picture highlights it very well, sent in to us from Amanda from New Boston, thank you to her, showing that we had cars and also trailers completely underwater. This picture from Belleville from Carrie Kreger also highlights the damage from the flooding as well. This video from Freddie Bryan in Ypsilanti highlights the dangers of flash flooding as well. You ever want to drive through flooded waters? The old saying is turn around, don't drown. That still holds true today. After Joel and myself stayed up until about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning tracking storms in southeast Michigan, we woke up to the models indicating a dangerous day was unfolding across the state. Wind shear was off the charts with almost 1.5 times the amount needed for severe weather present in the state, as well as moisture, with our PW values reaching 2.3, which are record levels here in August. Our derecho parameters were maxed out across southern Michigan, as well as our significant tornado parameters also showing a bullseye right across the Lansing area. By 5 to 6 p.m. we had a mesoscale discussion issued, and by 7:15 we had a severe thunderstorm watch issued by the SPC. Just as expected, by 6:30 p.m. we had firing storms in the western part of Michigan, stretching from Saginaw all the way down towards the Milwaukee, Wisconsin areas. The first warning of the day came up near Harrison for a severe thunderstorm warning that contained quarter-sized hail and wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. As expected, the line of storms continued to develop and fill in and also start to push southeast as it congealed into one main line.
This line, as you can see, is just beginning to take shape here. It's going to push off the east-southeast. And as it does that, it will continue to strengthen into a wind-producing monster.
After discussing the parameters of the day privately in the MSC group chat, we became increasingly concerned for the severe weather threat into the evening hours. Discussion on target areas suddenly erupted, and by 6 o'clock, our chasers were on their way. Our team sprung into action with Nick around Grand Rapids, Joel coming south from Mount Pleasant, and Alex heading east from the Paw Paw area.
We talk about these storms converging, this is what happens. CC drop here, I'm almost afraid to do this. Oh my gosh. Y'all, if y'all are religious, you need to say it. Pray for the town of Weatherville.
The first storm of the day that caught our eye happened just to the north of the Grand Rapids metro area, in particular from Wright to Rockford. Each storm in this line that I have highlighted here carries a hook. A hook is indicative that a supercell is either forming or has formed already. The supercells at this point in time were not surface-based, meaning that there was not going to be a wind or a tornado threat. If you look on radar, we have this line highlighted moving to the southeast, and also a line near Grand Haven Robinson moving due east. Noticing that, Joel pointed out on our live stream that we could have some convergence there, meaning we could have a few different funny things happen.
Normal have due east at Coopersville and that hook coming down the northwest. Watch out.
How about those two combined? 50% there.
These storms like to congeal, like this storm right here, Coopersville, Allendale, as that moves east and congeal with this storm up here by Ravenna. What that does happen, we call it convergence, and we'll have to see if anything funny happens, because we can get some funny things happening when that happens. So, we talk about these storms converging, this is what happens. That is indicative of some rotation.
Running radar on a day like this was very stressful at times, but we also had plenty of warning. We knew that when storms converged, we could get some type of spin-up happen, and that's exactly what happened. It was well predicted and well forecasted, but honestly, I didn't expect it to happen this quick. So here's where things get interesting. This is where I realized we could have a tornado on the ground at this point. I was unsure looking at this because if you look on the left, that blue ball doesn't really line up with the radar on the right. That's because the radar on the right was 3 minutes behind, and I had to verify that before I called it out, because often we get these CC drops where you see debris on the radar that actually do not line up with the velocity, so we call clear air. When I got the new scan, it was pretty evident we had a tornado on the ground.
Alright, I'm going to go ahead and make double check this, just because this is a 820 scan on the left, and this is an 817 scan. Up there you go. Tornado on the ground. That is a tornado on the ground north of Comstock Park. We do have velocity on the right, indicating very strong rotation just north of Comstock Park. The CC just got a little bit bigger, a little bit deeper.
Tornado warning, tornado warning.
Tornado warning now for Grand Rapids. Kent County tornado warning, you are now under the warning. This could be on the ground for a few more scans here. Track it here, so it's on the ground. At least, look at that. Check that out. This is actually getting stronger, moving due east now. Due east, so Northview, Rockford.
The details of this tornado were EF1, rated with 110 mile per hour wind, so a high-end EF1. It was on the ground for about 8.5 miles, and the max width was about a football field wide at 100 yards. There were no injuries or deaths reported. It touched down at Peach Avenue Ridge and 6 Mile, and it ended just before hitting Rockford High School. All photos you are seeing here are courtesy of the NWS survey from Grand Rapids. You can visit their website and find all the information there as well.
We're getting a lot of interesting velocities everywhere within the state today, so it's going to be hard to keep track of them all, and we'll put it that way. Tornado warning, Lansing.
No, destructive, severe warning for Lansing.
Oh my goodness.
Destructive severe winds are issued when a storm exceeds 80 mile per hour winds or hail larger than 2 inches. When these warnings do get issued, alerts will sound on your phone, and also some communities will sound their tornado sirens.
Yeah, check this out. Check out the interior of Lansing. Look at this.
Oh my gosh. Look at that.
We're talking winds 106 miles per hour, 2,000 feet off the surface. 106 and 108. Wow.
Clarifying this further, sometimes when we're further away from the radar beam is up in the higher ends of the atmosphere. In this particular case, these winds were over 100 miles per hour, were showing at 2,000 feet in the atmosphere. On the surface, we only had between 70 and 80 mile per hour winds, which is still significant.
Here we also have, look at this, over here by Mace.
This rotation you see here with the green and reds on the right side of your screen, that is the beginning of the storm that produced the Williamston Rudderville EF2 tornado.
Yeah, I saw that. It's just everywhere. Well, this is the parameters verifying is what it's doing.
As the storm moved through Lansing, our chaser Joel Fritzma was in Holt on the southeast side of Lansing, in position to intercept the severe winds. Also in the video you can hear tornado sirens sounding from the destructive severe wind that was issued.
Williamston, Dansville, Mason, Holt, Lansing, in your safe place right now. There is some rotation up showing up on the radar near Holt, heading toward Williamston, Dansville area. Go ahead and track that. Again, this is a severe thunderstorm warning, which is destructive attack, meaning winds are over 80 miles per hour with this storm. So guys, get in your safe place right now if you are in Eaton counties, especially in Greater Lansing area. These winds on radar are showing up 117 miles per hour now.
What you're about to see are highlights from our stream tracking this tornado through Weberville.
Oh,
That's on the ground, Sean.
Christopher eyes on it. It's heavy.
I know. So as you guys can see here, radar scope is showing that there's 125 mile an hour winds potentially with that right now, where there could be a tornado trying to drop. That is insane. I've never seen a velocity scan like that in Michigan. Yep, CC drop. Why is it not more?
I think it just says Jackson County severe warning.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's on the ground, guys. 96.
Okay. It's fine. If you guys are in the Weberville or Conway Township or Fowlerville area, you need to be taking shelter. This is unwarned right now. That doesn't mean it's not going to be unwarned. But that should have a tornado warning on it. You need to be taking shelter at this point in time. Regardless of whether it's a tornado or not, there are extremely strong winds. Let's see if we go back to our velocity here. Right now I'm the only one and I have to look at radar, so I cannot see comments. I apologize. So right now, right over I-196, we're looking at potential 199, 125 radar estimated winds. If you are in Weberville, this is not a joke. This is not a drill. You guys need to be in your bathtub. You need to be in the furthest most inland room of your house. You need to be in shelter now if you are in the Weberville area. This is a very strong and violent tornado. I am assuming, again, I'm not there. I'm just going by what the data tells me. This is a very serious situation. You need to be taking shelter now. We're just going to look at the CC drop here. I'm almost afraid to do this. Oh my gosh. Y'all, if y'all are religious, you need to say a prayer for the town of Weberville. Oh my gosh.
This tornado was on the ground for 12 miles and also 12 minutes as it crossed from Williamston, south of Weberville, toward Fowlerville. Here are some of the damage pictures and videos that we've compiled from the area. Additional information on this tornado include the fact that it was 500 yards wide, also claiming one person's life who was driving on the highway at the time of the tornado. Our sincere thoughts and prayers are with the people of Inman County, Livingston County, those affected by the tornado, and those who lost a loved one on this day.
Pretty scary, isn't it? I looked out my back window, and when the lightning was not cloud to ground, it was in the sky. That's an indicator of bad weather. Cloud to cloud lightning, and when it was lightning, I looked off, and the sky was orange. I've never seen it be orange before, but it was orange, pretty nasty. So, but with that, I'm just grateful to be here. And also, I learned a lot of things. And when you're in that type of situation and you lose your power for so many days, you do think. But I'll tell you one thing. If you have gas generators and you don't want to give up, or where that you've got power and this and that, to where if there was marauders or something out there, they would know it, because you can hear them. So that's just a tip. And I had those little lights on the wall. Didn't have my radio charged, but I did have small power bank that was able to keep my cell phone charged to call my family and everyone else, and I only use it for phone calls. I didn't have any internet either. But it makes you think. It did a lot of praying and makes you think, and it makes you look at what you might need to have to get. So, with that being said, I just thought that was interesting. And when they make a big deal out of the hurricanes and the Maui fire, which is very strange in itself. And then you look at these tornadoes. Whereas, I mean, like I say, these tornadoes are right there. And that's what, yeah, you know, it can get pretty bad. But anyway, with that said, I hope you enjoyed it. But if anyone that knows anything about uh, cars, melting points of vehicles, and stuff like that, what the fire would have to be. I know somebody who knows it if he watches this video. But with that being said, I wanted to show you that. And I got my power back probably Sunday night. I think it was Sunday night. Yeah. But anyway, it makes you think, it makes you think you need to do this, you need to do that. And you get a little bit closer to God, and then I have big guy over here bugging me. He's pretty good though. He doesn't get scared and stuff like that because he's never been scared of loud noises. I've never had him around him. I've had him sleep with the baby. But anyway, with that said, hope you enjoyed it and let me know about that car if you can. Thanks a lot. God bless. It takes a while, I swear to God. No, I don't swear to God, but Usually it goes off, but it ain't. It wants to be stubborn. This is getting kind of monotonous.